In this video, I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of owning real estate through an LLC. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, there are a lot more pros than cons, but there are some cons as well, and I'm not just going to give them to you. I'm going to give you a solution for each con or each negative. So you're going to walk away from this video, or run away from this video, or skip away from this video, or roll over and go back to bed after watching this video with a in-depth information about the importance of owning real estate through an LLC, as well as a few of the kind of hurdles and stubbing toe issues and things that go along with an LLC. I'm going to give you solutions for those as well. So I own over $40 million worth of real estate, and I own it all in several different LLCs. I have quite the structure of all my LLCs. I think I have 14 LLCs at this point now. So I don't have an LLC for each property, but for every 20 to 30 single family rentals I own, I have them in an LLC. So I'll buy 30 single family rentals in an LLC, then I will start a new LLC, then I'll buy 30 more single family rentals in that LLC, and so forth and so on. And then each apartment complex or big investment I own in an LLC. So I have 6 apartment complexes, and I have an owning LLC that owns each apartment complex that's separate. So not that you really cared about that, but that's how kind of my setup is. So I'm very familiar with LLCs and owning them and owning real estate through them. So I feel like I can give you some good insight and give you the reasons why I did what I did. At the end of this video, when I go over all the pros and cons and give you solutions for the cons, I'm even going to take it one step further and give you a free resource that you can use if you have any further questions, because I'm definitely not a lawyer and this is not legal advice. Or if you want to actually maybe set one up, I'm going to give you a free resource to do that. All right, let's start it out with a bang. The very first pro and the most important one, I almost saved this one for the end, but I hate it when people that make YouTube videos say, wait till the very end for the biggest tip. I'm just going to hit it out of the park right now. The number one reason why you should own real estate through an LLC is your mind. It is a mindset thing. Now stick with me on this. If you're buying real estate or wanting to wholesale or flip or buy rentals or whatever you want to do, if you're going to do it through your personal name, that's fine, that's legal. But are you really going to treat it as a business, or is it always going to be a side hustle that you maybe start? The minute you set up an LLC, you're going to be excited about it. You might create a website. You're for sure going to buy business cards. You're probably going to create a logo. You might even get a, something at whatever your website is.com, or you might just do whatever at gmail.com. You might get a Google number. The point is, you're going to start to treat it like a business because it's fun. You are now a small business owner after you set up that LLC. I remember creating so many logos and so many business cards through the years as I was doing this on the side, but it made me treat it as a business. I'd probably have maybe 30, maybe more like 15 boxes in my basement of cards that I created of different LLCs and logos over the years of all the LLCs I've owned that just sit there. So they're kind of pointless at this point, but it's fun, and you will start to treat it like a business, and you will take it more seriously because you have an LLC set up, in my opinion. The goal is to own real estate and create financial freedom for you. Now, doing that through LLCs is going to happen a lot faster, in my opinion, I guess is the best way to say it. So the mindset of owning an LLC and being a small business owner, I think will get you further quicker than just doing it through your personal name, and you're maybe going to get there. The first con, and again, this is probably the biggest con in my opinion, is when you buy real estate in your personal name, not through an LLC, you can get a little better loan terms. Now, I'm not going to go into the details, but you can own 10 properties in your personal name that you can get really good rates on, like the rates that you see are out there. You can get those rates over 30 years fixed, which is a really, really big deal if you're buying rental properties, because 99% of the loans given out to rental properties are 20 to 25 year amortizations with 3 to 5 year ARMs, which isn't the end of the world. ARMs means adjustable rate mortgage. So that's not the end of the world. That's how every single loan I have is. But if you buy them in your personal name, you can do 10, and they only allow you to own 10 in your personal name, that you can get a little better rates and terms on that will allow you to cash flow a little bit more. So that's the con of owning real estate through an LLC. It's going to have to be a commercial loan, not a residential loan. Again, not going to go into crazy detail on those two, but it's going to be a commercial loan with slightly worse terms than your actual residential loan that everybody gets on their personal houses when they buy them. So that is definitely the biggest con. And a little quick story about that is, after Lucas and I, who's my business partner, after we had about maybe 100, 120 rentals, we said, we want to buy some rentals that are a little bit nicer, that don't cash flow very well. So let's go do 10 in my personal name, 10 in your name. Let's have our next 20 rental properties be in our personal names, and then we'll quit claim over to an LLC eventually, or we'll worry about that, but let's get those better terms. They said, no, we're not gonna do that. We talked to several different banks and several different mortgage lenders, and they said, nobody's gonna approve you for those loans because you have so many down this route. So if you're wanting to go down the route of not owning in an LLC and owning in your personal name because you want those better terms and you want those better rates for your first 10, more power to you, but do that at the beginning on your first 10. And then a little kind of hack is, after you buy them and own them in your LLC and get everything set up, you can quit claim them over to your LLC that you definitely should start for all the reasons I'm going to talk about going forward in this video. Now, there's a little bit of gray area. A lot of loans have due upon sale clause. Technically, you selling it or giving it from your personal name to your LLC, even though you own both, is a sale, and the mortgage company can technically call that no due. Now, I've never, ever heard of that happening, so I don't think that's very likely, but I did want to put that out there. All right, on to another pro. The biggest pro that most people probably think of when they think of owning anything, especially real estate through an LLC, is the legal protection that comes along with that. If somebody falls at one of your properties while it's being rehabbed, or a contractor gets hurt at that property, or you have a tenant and they fall and slip on ice and break their arm, hopefully they won't, but they could potentially try to sue you. Now, I'm not saying they're gonna win, but they could try and sue you. Now, if you own them in your personal name and they win that suit, I think that's the right word, they win that suit, then they can go after, technically, I don't know that they will or would win this, but they could try to go after your personal house or your personal cars or all your personal assets. But if you own the property through an LLC, the LLC is the owner. There's a layer of protection between the actual asset and your personal asset. So they can sue the LLC and they can try to take everything that the LLC owns, but if it's just that property or properties in that LLC, that's all they can go after. They can't go after any of your personal assets. So you're kind of getting peace of mind, and you don't have to worry about all the things that you have outside of that LLC ever being taken. Here's a con that I think stops a lot of people from setting up an LLC is it is not free. It costs money to set up an LLC. I don't know your connections or how you'd want to do it, but in general terms, I think it's probably around a few hundred to several $100s doing it online through a company like LegalZoom. I think setting it up through a lawyer is probably maybe $1,000 to $3,000. So if you don't own any real estate and you're brand new, you're probably thinking, I'm not going to spend $2,000 or $1,500 or $500 setting up an LLC that I don't know if I'm ever going to buy real estate in. So that makes sense that you wouldn't do that. However, I have a solution for that we're going to talk about a little bit towards the end. That's that free giveaway. So I understand that it costs money, and that definitely is a con. I'm not going to tell you you can set up an LLC for free. However, if you know what you're doing and if you have set up other LLCs, in the state of Missouri, I can set up an LLC for $50. I can go to the state's website, set it up, fill out the information, super easy. They make it super friendly. Now, there are other documents that you need with an LLC, like an operating agreement and a few different things that you definitely don't want to make up yourself. But I would suggest you setting it up one time, and I'll tell you at the end how to do it extremely inexpensively. You can set it up one time, spend a little bit of money, and then going forward, if you want to just set it up on your state's website, I think there's nothing wrong with that. Again, in Missouri, it's $50. I would assume it's similar for most states. But then you can just use that same operating agreement that a lawyer or a company sets up for you, and it'll be in a Word document, and just search the LLC name and just change it to the new LLC name. Obviously, read through it and check that out. And again, this is not legal advice. This is just what I have done. So there's a way around it. So pay a little bit up front, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But then going forward, as you set up new LLCs, it can be extremely cheap or minimal to no cost. A pro that not a lot of people talk about, I don't think, is the flexibility once you own something in an LLC. It's super easy to sell. If you own it through an LLC, you don't have to worry as much about you owning a property personally, and if God forbid something would happen to you and have to go through the probate process if you own it personally, or just wanting to sell it or having multiple owners. It just gets a lot more confusing if you own it personally. But if you own it through an LLC, you could have multiple owners. You can just own it through your LLC. That's what the state's website, that's what everybody sees, that LLC owns it. But then in the operating agreement in the LLC, you could have have multiple owners. Shit, you could have 10, 15, 20 different owners. Not that you'd want to do that, but you can. It's super easy to set it up with multiple owners. Just a lot of flexibility that comes along with an LLC, because in that operating agreement that you do not have to file with the state or anything like that, you can lay out whatever terms and ownership terms that you want in that LLC. You know, I guess probably there are some limitations, but in general, you can set it up however you want with whatever ownership percentages you want. Another con that I think scares away a lot of people is it's confusing. You're not a lawyer, most likely you're not a lawyer, so setting up that LLC can be confusing and daunting and overwhelming. I get that. I'm gonna give you a solution here in probably about 1 minute to that, so put a pin in that, we'll come back. And the final pro, and extremely important pro in my opinion, is the accounting side of everything. Once you set up an LLC, you are a business owner, you then will want to track all your business expenses separately. You're gonna want a business credit card, a business debit card, and you can't open those up unless you have an LLC. The bank will require LLC documentation for that. But once you have that business account set up, you can start to build business credit, you can start to expense things and write off things and write off mileage all through that actual company, through that actual business bank account, so you can start to have business write-offs that will then trickle down to your personal tax liabilities at the end of every single year. So you will have the LLC set up on the side that you can run everything through, and all your expenses, some write-off, some not, but at least it will be separate in your accounting rather than having to go through your personal checking statement or credit card statement and having to highlight something that's a business expense versus a personal expense versus business expense, because you do need to have those separated at the end of every year. So just having an LLC set up on the side is extremely easy and clean, and it keeps accounting separate from business and personal, and whoever your bookkeeper is or your accountant or your CPA will be very happy that you did it that way. All right, on to my little teaser that I did at the beginning of the video on how you can do this extremely inexpensively and the right way for free, or part of it's for free. So I have used this company called Prime Corporate Services. The link below will allow you to get a free 45-minute consult. They will give you advice for 45 minutes on how to set up an LLC. You can talk about bookkeeping, you can talk about LLC structure and how to do it, where to do it, what state to do it in. You know, if you want anonymity, which states to start it in, do you want a holding company? They can talk about actual day-to-day bookkeeping, CPA services. They are incredible. I have personally used them, and they are, I'm not gonna give away the exact pricing, but they are a fraction of what other online services are. They are a fraction of what a lawyer is. It blew my mind. I had used them to set up e-com stores. I just used them to set up my recent business I just started called Invest Loop, where we're gonna invest in alternative investments outside of the real estate space and buy businesses. So I use them. These guys are awesome. If you've seen any of my videos, you know I usually don't push anybody at the end of the video, but if you click on the link in the description, you will get a free 45-minute call where they can tell you exactly what to do and what not to do. And if you decide to use them to set up your LLC, it's going to be extremely cheap. If you don't, no harm, no foul. So hopefully you enjoyed this video and it shed some light on setting up an LLC, should or shouldn't, and some pros and cons. And hopefully you see that the pros very much outweigh the cons. And I think even before you buy your first property, for a few $100s, you should set up an LLC for all the reasons I talked about in this video. So if you enjoyed this at all, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. I'm putting out a lot of content in 2023. We're gonna ramp everything up to 10. So you will see me more, and I will hopefully be giving you more actual tactical and mindset advice. See you on the next one.